It's such a tiny question, really. What do you want for dinner? So you open the refrigerator, you look at the eggs, the greens, maybe yesterday's leftovers, and just nothing sounds right. And it's not because dinner is complicated or because you forgot how to cook. It's just your mind absolutely doesn't want to make one more decision. That feeling actually has a name people often use: decision fatigue. Now, it doesn't mean your mind is broken, and it's definitely not a medical diagnosis. It's really just a way of describing what can happen after a day completely filled with choices, especially choices that are repetitive, uncertain, emotionally loaded, or, just harder than they look. Most of those choices don't feel all that important on their own. Reply now or later. Take this route or that one. Handle the bill today or maybe tomorrow. Answer the message. Move the appointment. Pick the task that literally cannot wait. Choose what to just ignore. I mean, one choice is totally manageable. 10 still feels normal. But by evening, the whole day can start to feel like a menu that just keeps adding pages. And that's a really useful picture here. A menu that slowly turns into a maze. For a long time, there was this popular explanation that said self-control worked kind of like a battery. Every difficult choice used a little more of the charge until there just wasn't much left. It was a really neat explanation, maybe a little too neat. A large pre-registered project involving 23 laboratories actually tested that ego depletion model, and the estimated effect was small enough that its confidence interval included 0. Now, that doesn't prove that people never feel mentally worn down, but it did challenge the idea that self-control depends on one simple resource that gets used up in the exact same way for everyone. So, another proposed explanation is less about running out of fuel and more about a shift in our attention and motivation. Basically, after a long stretch of have-to decisions, easier and more immediately rewarding options might start to pull a bit harder. Scrolling just feels easier than comparing. Ordering your usual meal feels way easier than deciding what would actually sound good. Leaving that email unanswered feels easier than choosing the perfect words. The actual ability to choose might still be there. It's the willingness to keep carefully weighing another trade-off that might have changed. Choice itself can also become a lot harder when there are simply too many paths. In a well-known study by Sheena Iyengar and Mark Lepper, shoppers saw either 6 jam options or 24. The larger display definitely attracted more attention, but the smaller display produced about 10 times the purchasing rate in that experiment. Now, that doesn't mean having more choice is always bad. Later research has shown that choice overload is kinda mixed and depends a whole lot on the situation. But that study captures something so familiar. When options become hard to compare, just postponing the decision can feel so much easier than actually choosing. And that's why a small evening choice can feel strangely heavy. That dinner question isn't arriving by itself. It's arriving after the messages, the errands, the unfinished work, the family details, and all those little things you've been keeping in your head all day long. Sometimes this shows up as putting off a decision. Sometimes it looks like just picking the easiest option, and sometimes it's opening 3 different apps, closing all 3, and still not having a clue what you actually want. It also really helps to separate this from a few related experiences. Decision fatigue is usually described as temporary. It might ease up after some rest, some food, a little distance from the problem, or simply having fewer demanding choices. Analysis paralysis, on the other hand, is different. That's when one particular decision becomes so tangled up in comparison, fear, or second-guessing that you just stay stuck on it. And persistent difficulty making ordinary decisions can have a lot of possible causes. In fact, one large healthcare field study found no credible evidence of decision fatigue in the setting it examined, which is a really useful reminder that this pattern isn't automatic, it isn't universal, and it's definitely not the only explanation. So what actually helps when small choices start feeling too large? Well, definitely not more pressure. Usually it's just less unnecessarily choosing. Having a few dependable defaults can take those low-stakes decisions right off the table. Think about having the same simple breakfast on work days, a short grocery list you already trust, keeping your keys in the exact same place, having 1 or 2 really reliable dinner options for those tired evenings, or choosing tomorrow's first task before today even ends. The point here isn't to turn your life into some rigid system. It's to stop spending so much careful attention on choices that honestly don't deserve that much of it. You can also just make a decision smaller. Like, instead of asking, what's the absolute best dinner tonight? Try asking, what's easy, decent, and already here in the fridge? Instead of asking, what should I do with my entire evening? Ask, what's just the next 10-minute thing? A maze becomes a way less intimidating when you really only need to choose the very next turn.
Now, if ordinary decisions keep feeling impossible, distressing, or disruptive even after you've rested, that is absolutely worth taking seriously. A qualified professional can really help sort out what else might be contributing and what kind of support would actually help. But for just an ordinary worn-out evening, the answer doesn't have to be perfect.
The eggs are fine. A sandwich is fine. Those leftovers are fine. The choice can be small again.